On this week's Ticket Stubs, we're talking about the excellent, darkly comical and spooky fun time genre-defining movie from 1996. We're talking about Scream. Hello, my friends.
Hello, good boys.
Hello, darlings. How you going?
Whoa.
Sorry, adding a bit of sizzle there, a bit of spice.
Ooh, spicy.
I'm good, mate. I just before we jumped on, I just finished up a nice little Rocket League game.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Did you win?
I did win. I was playing along a random guy called MILF Menace. So thank God I'm no MILF. But yeah, mate, I'm good. What about you, Ryan? You doing well?
I'm doing good. Yeah. Had a few big days at work, so I'm a little bit tired. So my Scream notes may not be fully compiled, but I think that will make somewhat sense. So yeah, should be good.
Very good. And yourself, Ciarin, my dear?
Oh, I'm very good. I've got a lovely ginger beer. I'm ready to talk about some movies.
God, does it get any better?
Nah, can't get any better. In the middle of starting to pack things to move, so I'm like, forget about that.
We can't wait to come over and touch all your stuff in your new place.
Oh, you keep your dirty mitts off my stuff, Dane.
I'm gonna put my grundle on your stuff.
You keep your taint away from my stuff.
You can't keep my taint away from anything.
I was just about to say, and we're going to lick everything, but I don't think I want to say that. After that conversation.
Just make sure you lick everything before Dane goes through.
Oh boy. I should apologise. We're recording a day earlier than usual. A bit of a pre-day recorder. I made us pre-everywhere for this recording, I suppose.
Yes, it's all
something
good.
Like that.
It's all good.
Yeah,
no wuckers.
That's okay, mate. Just don't do it again, or you cut.
Yeah.
Ryan, mate, we're talking about your pick this week.
No, we are talking about Scream. Yeah, which I really kind of wanted to revisit because I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the new trailer for the new one came out, and I was like, God, it has been a while since I have watched Scream. What's kind of your relationship with this movie? Had you guys both obviously seen it before?
I saw Scary Movie before I actually saw Scream. I had my friend in primary school and we'd go over and we'd watch all the Scary movies.
Yep.
So, and then, a year or two ago, Nick was like, have you watched Scream? And I was like, I actually haven't. And he forced me to watch every single one in a night. So, yeah.
I'm the same as you, Ciarin. Like, Scary Movie came out when I was in primary school, and it was kind of, a lot of it went over my head, and then, years later, I ended up watching Scream. Bloody loved it. And this, I haven't watched it for many a year since, and I had forgotten so much about it. An absolute joy from start to finish. I loved it. It's been my favourite suggestion of our podcast series so far.
Yes.
Yeah. Snaps to you, Ryan. But look, I mean, as this recording, Halloween has just passed, so this is meant to be a Halloween episode. It'll be obviously a couple of weeks since the spooky weekend. But look, we thought we'd go for a real Halloween classic.
And I don't know if you guys had the same experience as I did. Like, I haven't seen Scream for at least 5 years. And then when I was rewatching it, I was getting confused between what happened in Scream and what happened in Scary Movie. And I kind of like blended them together. And then like some things that I thought only happened in Scary Movie happened in Scream as well. Like, you know when she runs down the stairs and the policeman is holding up the mask? I thought that was only in Scary Movie because it was so dumb, but then it happened in this as well.
This movie sort of does at times kind of fringe on, I mean, obviously it is very heavy-handed with its satire of spooky movies and stuff, but I completely agree with what you're saying. There's parts of it where you think it would be in one of those Scary Movie knockoff type movies.
Some of it was shot for shot too, like they shot for shot remade some of those in Scary Movie, which I thought was so clever.
But I suppose I should start with, if anyone hasn't seen Scream, this is obviously going to be very spoiler heavy, but it pretty much is the story. It's set a year after the murder of our main character's mother, when a teenage girl is terrorized by a new killer who begins targeting her and her friends, which I call maybe the most meta movie ever made, which is also directed by Wes Craven. But yeah, it's a great time, and yeah, the film really starts damn good at the start. The film opens and follows teenager Casey Becker, who is played by Drew Barrymore, who looks around 27 when she filmed this teenager scene, and she begins receiving phone calls from an unidentified caller, who starts out quite joking and friendly with her, but then slowly becomes more aggressive. Yeah, then things kind of begin to turn for her. He says to her, "You hang up on me again and I'll gut you like a fish."
Ooh.
In quite an aggressive tone. It's pretty intense. It's a bit intense.
Before we jump like super right into it, I wanted to talk to you guys about, so it's the 90s, the types of movies that were coming out when this movie came out. So we've got all of the direct-to-video releases of all of the Friday the 13th sequels were coming out at this time. There was like an over-reliance, I guess, on the established franchises, and they all did the same bloody thing. So this movie...
It was such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. So it kind of gave like resurgence to the slasher genre, which then like shortly after the Blair Witch Project came out, which kind of just flipped the whole horror genre on its head, I guess. But this was like, a refreshing take, and it kind of made fun of itself. And it essentially called out the problem with every single horror movie being released at the time, while also putting on like that meta twist on the classic whodunit mystery thriller. So just to give a bit of context for everybody about what we're doing, and because it's like, it kind of read as a comedy in the script, so heaps of directors were like, no, I don't want to do it, I don't want to touch this one. So they had like Sam Raimi was going to get on it, and then he thought it was too funny.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
So
wow, I love Sam Raimi. I never knew that.
Yeah.
That would have been fantastic.
And George Romero, and Sam Raimi, they were going to sign up for it, but then they thought it was too comedic because they didn't really get the satire of the whole thing. So
that's so strange considering his, Evil Dead. Just so much slapstick and silly business in those movies.
Yeah. But yeah, he was like, no, it's too comedic. But I guess Wes Craven kind of looked at it, and he's the granddaddy of, slashers, if you want to think about it. So, and he kind of looked at it and was like, hey, I love satire. I think he pulled off the satire. Continue, Ryan. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. I really like it. And I think it's quite interesting because Wes Craven had also done, what did he do? The New Nightmare. The Nightmare on Elm Street. So he has done a proper horror film. And then he's done this.
And the last House on the Left.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is where he started. So he's done quite a bit of horror. And then, he obviously took all that on board and then tried to give a horror meta comedy movie.
Yeah. Drew Barrymore even pokes fun at like most recent Friday the 13th sequel that had come out. Did you guys pick up on that when she's on the phone to the murderer?
Yes.
And she's like,
oh yeah,
I love Friday the 13th, except for the most recent one though.
Might I throw in some trivia early?
Ooh.
Wes Craven, I was watching an interview about that, and that line in particular, and he's like, I didn't write that line, and I wasn't sure if I was going to keep it or not.
But yeah,
what a great sport.
Like Wes Craven, so like I said, master of the slasher, also master of teens in horror films. Friday the 13th, all teenagers. But I think that out of all of the directors that could have been on it, he was probably the best one. He highlights kind of like the immaturity of a teenager. Also, like, it kind of makes their really poor decision making justified, I guess. So that's just my 2 cents.
It was surprising to me because usually, like, I don't know if it's just me because I'm so very old and cynical, but a lot of movies with younger people, I'm like, oh, I fucking hate this character and that character, and oh, what an annoying school kid. But everyone in the movie, if they were, deliberately portrayed as a dickhead or what have you. I loved everyone in this movie. Every character I had a good time watching.
Yeah, contextually they all work. Like contextually they're all just funny. And they're not like naturally funny like a Jim Carrey type of funny. They actually just work with the script and the context of it. And the self-awareness, like it's just overtly self-aware. That just stops, it just makes it... It's just good. It's just fucking good. We haven't even fully got into it. And it's just a good movie.
the movie
our most positive review so far.
Yeah. Everything about it just works so well. It's just amazing.
So Drew Barrymore said, "I'll gut you like a fish."
Yeah, Drew Barrymore just got told that if she hangs up on the killer again, she's going to get gutted like a fish. And this is all while she was just trying to have a nice evening cooking her stovetop popcorn. And watch a movie. Which I haven't...
It's such a good opening scene. I love it.
It's incredible.
It's iconic.
It took 5 days to shoot. 5 days to shoot this.
5 days, damn. Yeah, because I like the way it starts off so simple, and it's just like this friendly phone call between them, and then like it's a wrong number, but then he keeps calling back, and they kind of keep chatting, and then it kind of escalates, and he's asking more questions, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm done," and then he's like, "Yeah, you hang up on me again, and I'll gut you like a fish." So good.
It just the tension is just it turns on a dime, and you're like, holy fuck. Like, it wastes no time getting into it, this movie. Like, even the flirty back and forth, like, bantering this girl, this mysterious stranger being really flirty with me. Yeah. And then, bang, we're fucking into it 2 minutes in. We're like, boys.
And like, it's
God,
funny.
The guy who does the voice is incredible.
Yeah.
The guy who does the phone
I've got
voice.
some trivia about him.
Oh.
A bit of trivia about him later on, too.
Oh my
wow. But it's funny and different, but it's also fucking horrific at the same time. Like, it's just terrifying. So you're having a good time, but you're also like, oh no, oh dear, oh no.
There's so many things I love about this movie, especially all the 90s things. If this happened today, like, to me, like, I don't answer my phone ever. He just keeps calling. I'm like, I'm still not answering. I don't care what you say.
Well, I think like when we make our little scary movies, we try not to put a time stamp on it. Like, this is the year that it happened. Yeah. Because otherwise, it just ruins like if you inject real world logic into things by putting a time stamp on it, I feel like it kind of ruins the viewing experience. But I guess this movie, watching it now, it is very nostalgic and dated because it's just riddled with pop culture references specifically for 1996. So but it's still good because it still has that. Oh well, I mean, one thing I will say: has she not heard of like an answering machine? Like, she didn't have to answer the phone.
Ciarin, as from what I can tell, you being the only lady in this group, and
lady's a stretch of a word.
And the smallest, how do you reckon you would go in this type of situation?
I'm very speedy. I'm scrappy. I'm all nails. I'd probably be dead.
Do you answer the phone?
Yeah, no, I probably wouldn't. I probably wouldn't answer the phone, but really, if I didn't answer the phone, he'd probably just come in anyway. But like, I'd just fucking leg it. I'd leg it. There's been if I'm walking down the street and something's a bit sketchy, I'm on the phone to my dad immediately, like, Dad, I'm walking down this street. If I get I'm too high strung not to be like, this is sus, I'm fucking out of here.
Ryan, what about you, mate? You reckon you'd survive this little encounter?
Oh, I don't know. I don't answer my phone to start with, but if someone broke in, I probably wouldn't do a lot. I just like curl up in the fetal position and be like, yeah, you got me, all right.
No, I can imagine you just being like, would you like a hot beverage?
I don't like confrontation.
Welcome to my home.
Yeah.
Can't we just talk?
Please have a seat. Yeah.
What about you, Dane?
Yeah, I'd be toast pretty quickly. I'd try to run out of there, but I'm pretty clumsy. I trip over my own feet. And, yeah. I'd probably land on a rake or something. Who knows?
I'd probably end up like the chicken scary movie and get hit by the passing car. Like, because I can't see. I have terrible eyesight. Put me in the nighttime and I'm done for.
Yeah, if neither of us have our glasses when we have a murderous intruder, we're cooked.
Literally
that's all I
blind.
can think of. Anytime I watch a scary movie, or if I watch especially a post-apocalyptic movie, if my glasses broke at any point, I would be dead.
I legit had the exact same conversation with Suanna like last night. I think I was out doing something or other and I didn't have my glasses. I was like, man, if, this COVID gets worse, you're going to have to guide me through everything.
Yeah.
So if these glasses get damaged, I am fucked.
I will say one thing that might help us if we're ever in this situation is the killer is incredibly clumsy throughout this whole movie.
Yeah.
He has taken falls, he has taken hits to the groin, he is smacking into doors.
Yeah.
He is,
I can't imagine he would be able to see very well through that Halloween mask.
Yeah. Here's a little bit of trivia. Apparently, in one of the original drafts of the script, it was just going to be called Scary Movie.
Well, they say scary movie so many times in this movie.
Yeah, because it is literally just a scary movie. And, the movie's meta enough that it could call itself Scary Movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm glad it didn't, though.
No, I was going to say, Scream's a better title. Ghostface is also a pretty good title. But yeah, pretty much after that, Casey continues to stay on the phone with the voice, but then becomes even more frightened when she learns that the voice is actually watching her at the moment. And then the voice begins to force her to answer questions relating to horror movies in exchange for her life and now her boyfriend's life. As Casey's boyfriend, Steve, has also been caught and is tied up outside on the patio. So the killer asks her the question of, who is the killer in the Friday the 13th movie? And she goes, Jason Voorhees, of course. But it's obviously Mrs. Voorhees.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Sorry guys for this 1980s movie. Yeah, and then Steve is literally gutted while tied to a chair.
How did they get him there so quickly? That's what I want to know. Every light in that house was on.
Yeah. And I swear she looks out there at one point. Yeah. She locks the door or something.
They must have been running on adrenaline or something, just moving stuff.
But yeah, poor old Steve is killed, and then the caller continues to taunt Casey, and then he eventually breaks into the house and begins chasing her, and we get to see the infamous costume of a cheap-looking Halloween ghost outfit, which looks incredible. It's so funny. I love it. I think it's great.
So goofy.
So goofy looking, especially when the house is so well lit. And I don't know if we ever really see the mask and things in a dark room or anything, which it might actually look a bit spooky in. It's always in a perfectly lit room.
Or in broad daylight, which I'll get into later.
So it always looks just great. It just looks fantastic. Easily my favorite shot of the movie is Casey's trying to escape, so she's outside. She starts to run. The killer breaks through the window, chases after her. She's running on the lawn, and the killer catches her, grabs her, covers her mouth, and stabs her in the chest, and she goes down.
Her parents are arriving home as well, so she's running out to go and alert them, they're beaming down the driveway.
Yeah. Has a little bit of a tussle with the guy, starts crawling towards her parents who are just walking up on the front porch, tries to scream out to them, but she can't make a noise, and then she is killed and hung up on the porch for her parents to discover. Yeah.
So they start looking in the house for her when she's literally 10 feet away outside. That kind of fucks with me though. Imagine being stabbed to death 10 feet away and nobody can help you.
For a comedic opening like this, the banter on the phone is really funny and everything, and then it is fucking horrific. It's
and
it's so intense.
It's tense as shit.
Yeah.
One thing to note too, Drew Barrymore at the time was the it girl. She was a big famous movie star. She's grown up in the spotlight. She's been in so many movies, had so many controversies. So when everybody saw, Drew Barrymore's in this movie, oh shit. And to kill her in the first 10 minutes it came as a huge shock. Like, that's a really shock of a opening.
Yeah.
Like, they thought she was going to be the star of the movie. And it kind of sets up a world where anyone can be killed and nobody is safe.
Exactly.
And this is a
Yep.
really star-studded cast, too. Like, anybody, like, it just makes you can't guess what's going to happen for the whole movie. Like, from this point, it's like, oh, all bets are off, boys. Hold on to your hats.
Yeah, it's so well shot, so well paced, and like the way, like throughout the whole movie, the way the people are killed it's so violent and so intense. Like gutting people is horrific, and then to see her boyfriend like that happen to him, and then eventually to her as well. It's just doesn't hold its punches. It's a killer opening.
Yeah, love it.
No, literally.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was gonna say, no pun intended. Yeah. Do you guys have anything else to say about that opening?
no,
It's
just
Yeah.
It's a wicked 10 minutes. It's
wicked.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, what?
I've got a bit of trivia about it when we get to trivia time.
Mhm.
But yeah, loved it. Favorite part of the whole movie. One of my favorite horror movie openings.
Yeah.
Zero complaints about these first 10 minutes.
Yep,
Mm.
and it's just like I said, it's come from such a like horror movies at this point in time. You can watch them now, like, and they're so predictable. Like, so to chuck such a huge spanner in the works so early on, just straight away, like 100 chef kisses from me. Mwah.
Yeah. But then pretty much from there, then we go and we meet our main character, who is Sydney Prescott, who's played by Neve Campbell, and her boyfriend, Billy Loomis, played by Skeet Ulrich. First off, he just looks like Johnny Depp, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
just-
Yes, I had Johnny Depp from Wish written down.
I wrote
Yeah.
down low rent, Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first thing, that's what I think. Every time I see him, I'm like, oh yeah, Johnny Depp. Yeah, cool. But yeah, he's Billy's a bit of a cheeky boy and sneaks into Sydney's room and wants to have sex with her. Sydney is still a bit unsure and wants to remain a virgin for now. But then we actually later find out the reason for that is because Sydney's mother was murdered almost a year to date. Yeah, so she's been a bit withdrawn.
Her mother was having an affair at the time. She was murdered, which I think also like psychologically played into like Sydney doesn't want to be like that.
Played into her relationship as well.
Like Billy, Billy should know. No one's gonna be horny leading up to your mother's like anniversary, like death anniversary.
Yeah.
You never heard of like funeral crashing, Dane?
Oh goodness.
But yeah, I wrote the Exorcist thing is so nasty. He's like,
Such
babe,
a weird line.
I was watching The Exorcist and it made me think about you. It's like, yeah, babe.
Yeah.
I watched a movie where a young girl masturbated with a crucifix and spewed on everyone. I love you. We should bang. We should bang right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that crucifix scene for a while.
Damn, we're gonna do it on the pod one day. So get ready to talk about it.
I love The Exorcist, but just for that fleeting moment of joy, I had forgotten.
The concept of The Exorcist sits well with me. Yeah, I can't imagine like using that as a pickup line and somebody like not immediately drying up like the Sahara Desert.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What
and
did he
then
even mean by that though? Is
'cause
that
it's
what he
like,
meant? Or was he talking about?
no, so he was talking. No, he was talking about because he was like, but it was cut for TV, and that made me think, babe, our relationship is cut for TV because all the good, sexy stuff we don't do that. And I was like, okay, still though, you're comparing it to The Exorcist. What in the world in The Exorcist is sexy? Like,
What a weird
your
segue.
mother sucks cocks in hell. Blah, 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 blah. Like, oh yeah, that really gets me going.
Gets my motors
Like-
started.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just so cheesy. Like, it's just so cheesy. Like, it's just like typical immature teenage boy really wants to get some poontang and is just grasping at metaphorical straws to get in this girl's pants.
He's a weird dude, and I don't know about you guys, but like I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, he's guilty. He's so like shady. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something
Well, who
about him,
sneaks
I'm like,
into
yeah.
people's bedrooms in the middle of the night
Yeah.
while they're like, dude, normal people knock on the fucking front door. Like, come on, that's already sus. The movie does a good job too of being like, he's guilty. No, he's guilty. No, he's guilty.
And this I don't think we mentioned. This girl's Neve Campbell, who I fucking love.
Yeah.
It's a bit cute.
She's great.
Then the only other thing that we learn kind of in this first scene with Billy and Sydney is that Sydney's father, Neil, is actually going out of town for a few days because he almost walks in on them when Billy's in the room. But yeah, then we just learn he's going out of town for a few days and Sydney's like, nah, not having sex with you, get out of my house. And then then the next morning Sydney's going to school and the school is going absolutely crazy because the two students, Casey and Steve, were students from Sydney's school. Yeah, there's reporters all over the front yard. The kids are going crazy. It's all just going down.
All three of the police force are there. All three cops in the whole town to interrogate the entire school. Which I feel in like the real world, why would they do that? I'm gonna talk to every student.
What were you doing last night? I don't know. Sitting at home. Yeah, cool. Okay, next. Let's go. But then we do also probably get to meet probably everyone's favorite character, I think, in the series, who is Courtney Cox's character, Gail Weathers.
Yeah.
Who is a reporter who is just an absolute delight to watch.
She is, and so strange because in so many films, the reporter is always the most annoying, needy, pesty character.
Yeah.
And she's just so great.
Yeah. She's still a pest, but she's a pest with a purpose.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And has she been in every Scream movie? I meant to look this up.
Yeah,
before.
she has.
But
Yeah,
I was gonna
there's
say-
that one with the ugly haircut. Was it Scream 2? She had that weird haircut with the front fringe.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, she is fantastic. So Gail's there. And she just abuses her cameraman, which is quite funny as well. But yeah, pretty much from there, then we get to meet all of Sydney's friends. So it's kind of her, her partner Billy. We get to meet Tatum, who is her best friend. We get to meet Randy, who is a movie obsessed friend, who also works at the video store. And we get to meet Stu, who is played by Matthew Lillard. And we also get this little line about that he used to date Casey.
We also meet Henry Winkler as the principal, which that is such a generic. It's such a generic role, and he just makes it. He's such a standout. Like could have been such a forgettable part. Yeah. Yeah. He is amazing.
Everything Winkler does, he just shines. Like, he just sinks himself into the role, and I just had a little love heart next to him in my notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well deserved as well.
One thing to touch on too, Ryan just mentioned Randy, so he's like the movie buff, he's a virgin, and he's kind of the comic relief a bit of the movie as well, and he's kind of also the movie's, he's the mind and the voice of the movie, I guess. Because he does make a point to say, like, you know, there's a formula to the movie, and basically everything the audience sees can be interpreted using horror movies to figure out what's going on.
It reminded me heaps, his character reminded me heaps of, I can't remember the name of the character, but Cabin in the Woods, the generic stoner guy, who knows, he's basically playing the same character, knowing that something doesn't add up and everything's really sus, but letting us know what's happening at the same time.
Yeah. But no, it's a good little cast. Yeah, Matthew Lillard's character Stu is a bit of a nutcase, but
he is electric playing that character.
Honestly,
I loved him.
Matthew Lillard, just in general, is so grossly underrated, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, he is so versatile, and he's played so many banger characters, like, as a character actor.
I was just going to say, a little while ago, I just watched She's All That, and he's in that because he plays the guy from the real world, and he's a great character in that. He's so much fun. He's such a douchebag, but you like him, and he's just great. So
And
yeah,
he plays Shaggy in Scooby-Doo.
And
he
Shaggy,
fucking
of course.
Killed it.
Yep.
yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I was going through his IMDb and didn't realize like half his career is voicing Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. I'm like, it works.
Yep.
He does it so well though. But yeah, pretty much from there, we don't really get much happening at the school that day. But since Sydney's dad is away, she's actually going to go stay at Tatum's house, who is her friend, and is going to get picked up after school. So after school, she's waiting. She has a sleep, and she's just waiting for Tatum to pick her up when the phone rings. And we, as the audience, know that it's the same voice that was calling Casey. And she thinks it's a bit of a joke at first, just like Casey did, and plays it off until the caller brings up her mother's death. And pretty much screams at her, "Do you want to die, Sydney? Because your mother sure didn't." Yeah, which is pretty intense. Pretty fucking full on for poor old Sydney. Even in this conversation, they were talking about horror movies again. So horror movies obviously play a huge theme throughout this movie. And I love the line that she says. I can't exactly remember what it is word for word, but it's something like, "Why don't you like them?" And she's like, "Oh, why do they always run upstairs instead of going out the door?"
Yeah, and then she literally does that.
And then literally the killer jumps out from behind, from inside a closet, and then she runs upstairs instead of going out the front door.
I wrote down the quote. So she explains why she hates horror movies. What's the point? They're all the same stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who panicked and is always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting. And then she fucking just goes, "Oh shit, better run up the stairs."
I love it. I love it so much. Because it's like not even like a minute apart. Like the words finish and then the killer jumps out and then she runs upstairs. It's so funny. Yeah, which is great. So she's running away from the killer. That he's chasing her in the Ghostface outfit. And then Sydney gets into her bedroom and locks the killer out. And then she does the coolest and lamest call for help ever by getting on her computer and typing 911.
Yeah.
Calling the police to her house while typing it out.
I don't understand how that works.
No, and they're so quick. They're there in like 2 minutes. And I'm like, how did that even happen?
Thank you, Dial-Up, for saving my life.
She runs in and she's like, "Oh shit, hang on," and she unplugs the phone and then plugs it into her computer and she's like, "All right, let's go now." Turn the computer on. Takes 5 minutes to boot up. Yeah,
does the fucking da-da-da-da.
Sydney, writes for help from the computer, and then the killer leaves. And then almost immediately after the killer leaves, Billy arrives at her window and says, "Oh, I heard screaming." So where the hell was Billy before that?
It's such a huge red flag, and it even he drops the suspicious phone. It's like, "Ooh, you suspicious boy," but then the film still makes you do a really good job of second guessing whether it is him.
Exactly.
Because then Officer Dewey shows up with the phone just in her fucking face, holding the screen mask.
It's so weird. Yeah, like Billy. The phone falls out of his pocket, and then she's like, "Oh my god, it could be you." Runs away, runs downstairs, opens up the door. Yeah, Dewey, the policeman, is holding the mask in front of her. She almost has a freaking heart attack.
and he has his gun drawn as well.
He's like, "Ooh." Plus, okay, I wrote down everyone is touching the killer's outfit because who needs evidence? Am I right?
I didn't understand that phone reveal at first because obviously every man and his dog has a phone now, and I thought he's dropped his phone. Who gives a shit? And I was like, "Oh,
it's
this movie's 25 years old, so it's pretty rare for people to have those phones, I guess."
Later, not long after this, they go to the police station, and literally one of the police officers is like, "What are you doing with a cellular phone, boy?" And I was like, everyone I literally wrote, yes, it's the 90s. You are immediately suspicious if you have a mobile phone.
Must be doing the murders if you got a mobile.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about Scary Movie 1 too much, but the cell phone scene from Scary Movie 1, when he climbs in and he drops his cell phone, then the black gloves, then the knife.
Yeah. And he's like...
Yeah, it's so good. So then she meets Dewey, who is actually Tatum's brother, who is the town deputy policeman. Yeah, so she's taken to the policeman with Billy, where Billy is questioned separately. Yeah, about his cellular phone. Which is obviously a big red flag in the police book. But yeah, so Tatum comes and picks up Sydney from the station. But on their way to the car, they meet Gail Weathers, who was actually writing a book on her mother's murder. And she tells Sydney that she believes that the person that Sydney testified against was actually wrongly convicted. And now Gail is following up a story about the murder of Casey Becker. So she somehow feels the two murders are connected.
Yeah, and I love that, like, so they have that confrontation behind the police station. There's police everywhere, there's camera crews everywhere. And Sydney just socks her in the fucking face. Like,
so
solidly hits her in the face. And the police are just fine with it.
Yeah. He's like, come on, time to move on.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of, and I mentioned before, my favourite movie, Die Hard, where right at the end, the journalist gets in the face of John McClane and his wife, and he's like, "Oh man, how are you feeling?" And McClane's wife just fucking smacks him right in the kisser.
Yeah,
like, that's great.
But yeah, then pretty much Sydney goes back to Tatum's house and then gets a phone call again, and it's the voice again who says, "You got the wrong guy, Sydney, again." Mm-hmm. A little bit intense, but Sydney goes, "None of this is going to stop my education." So goes back to school the next day.
Yeah.
There is nothing more important than learning maths and English in high school. So.
Oh, that's tickled me.
But yeah, pretty much the next day at school, the school is going still crazy with Ghostface and the murders. Yeah, so a few students dress up as Ghostface and are caught by the principal and expelled. And the principal also says this line to them. He goes, "Fairness would be to rip your insides out and hang you from a tree." To the two guys who just go to school in a Ghostface mask. And then they get expelled.
I love that the principal made them wear the masks so he could dramatically take them off.
Who's under the hood?
Keep those on. You think this is a joke?
There's so much misdirection going on. It's fantastic.
I wrote down, the movie is spending way too much time on whether the Fonz did it or not.
Did he do it? Oh my goodness.
Hey!
And then also the students at the school don't even believe Sydney's story and believe she could be doing it for attention as well. So yeah, the school's a bit of a mess at the moment. But she also runs into Billy after he has been released from custody. So.
Yeah, I just was arrested. I better go to school.
Everyone's so studious in this movie.
I know.
Their friends are getting gutted and hung from trees. You're like, well, I cannot miss English. Gotta get to that English essay.
We're doing Romeo and Juliet. I love that play. Yeah, but they're kind of trying to patch things up. It's a bit of a weird confrontation between the two of them.
So, because he was like, "Oh, don't you think you're overreacting?" And she's like, "What? I was attacked and nearly filleted last night." And I wrote, "No, girl, you were chased by a clumsy boy in a costume. Don't lie."
And I think this is the line where Billy's like complaining that they don't do anything anymore. And then he like just drops it, "Oh, ever since your mum died, we don't do anything anymore." I was like, okay.
Yeah.
This boy...
It's a dick comment.
Like, apart from, like, possibly being a murderer, like, also just red flags just in general, because he's just a piece of shit.
Yeah, red flags galore for this guy. But then I think this might actually be my favourite scene in the movie. It's just when Sydney goes to the bathroom. Yeah, she just has a bad time. She listens to those cheerleaders who are bitching about her. Someone just keeps whispering her name. And then the killer emerges in the bathroom and tries to kill her. And she escapes and runs away.
It's American high school. Those things are huge. Imagine just being like, "This will be the bathroom that she'll come into."
I know. This is her favourite bathroom, so...
Biding my time.
I love as well, there's just... Because it's always trying to throw us off the scent, like... there's so many people always wearing the same style of boots in this
Yeah.
movie. And it really tries to always like zero in on, oh, look at the shoes, pals, look at the shoes. And it's like 5 different people that all go to the same cobbler, I guess.
I just love Payless, what can I say?
But yeah, pretty much from there, then the school is closed, and the police put a curfew in place to try and protect everyone. So what do the kids do at the high school? They decide to throw a party because they finished school earlier. So, but can you blame them?
Instead of like, being safe and going and staying in a house, Sydney's like, you know what, I just got murdered. I actually need a party. I need to relax.
I know. It's so funny. And Tatum's like, oh, please come to the party. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry. Did you almost get killed 3 times in 2 days? No? Okay. Yeah, pretty much Sydney decides to go to the party. And then, all the kids go over to Stu's house for this big party. Yeah.
In the meantime, the principal is at school by himself now.
I know.
So
not everyone's favourite principal, Himbry.
The principal the Fonz, is by himself. And stuff starts getting all shady. Did you guys see Mr. Wes Craven playing Freddy Krueger?
Oh, I fucking love that joke.
It's so good. Freddy the cleaner.
Because to set it up, the principal keeps hearing a knocking at the door. So he goes and opens his office door in the school, and he sticks his head out, and there's the janitor, dressed head to tail as Freddy Krueger, mopping the floors the whole way. And then Henry Winker's like, oh, no worries, it's just Freddy. Like,
it's so good. Yeah. It's a great little wink and a nod.
Yeah. I also love that, like, while they're all getting ready to go to the party, like they go to the shops and they're walking around the town, but I love that the killer is just snooping around in broad daylight in the most obvious costume ever.
He's in the grocery store.
Yeah, he's at the grocery store, and like, how has nobody called the cops and be like, hey, there's this guy walking around, like, and I guess, like, in Halloween, Michael Myers walks around in his little get-up with his little mask on, like he goes to the public school and he looks at all the children and he drives around and nobody really calls the cops on him. I guess it's kind of making fun of that in a sense, but it's like, it's not even Halloween. Like, at least Michael Myers had Halloween to blame it on. If somebody came up and said, hey,
that's true.
He could be like, it's Halloween.
Even if no one knew what Michael Myers was meant to be dressing up as, no one would question it because it's Halloween.
Yeah, whereas Ghostface is just out at high noon, running
on May 25th.
He's getting his groceries as well.
Yeah.
He's got his education and now he's getting his groceries.
Yeah, they're like, you know what, murderers need to enjoy nature and they need to get groceries.
But yes, then unfortunately, our principal Himbry does get murdered by the killer. So there's a few misdirections there. He thinks there's someone in the cupboard, but there's not. So then he relaxes, but then the door closes and the killer's behind the door. And kablama.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah. So the principal is also now dead.
The janitor was no help. The janitor was right there. No help from the janitor. He's like, are you in there making a mess for me to clean up, Principal Himbry?
Pretty much from there, then Sydney and all of her friends are at this party at Stu's house. We also get Gail Weathers turns up and her cameraman to the party in an attempt to talk to Sydney or to get some video footage that she may be able to use. But she also runs into Dewey, the policeman there at the party. But they kind of have a bit of a conversation and get a bit of a connection going. So they are both welcomed into the party.
I love that there's a lockdown, but they can have a teenager rager party, and one of the 3 cops in the town show up and doesn't immediately be like, hey, cut it out. Like,
who's throwing this party? The NRL?
But it's like, do they even give a shit? Like, there's people getting murdered, like brutally murdered, and then just like, yeah, you know what, kids will be kids.
And they're targeting like high school students for most of the murders, but then...
Well, if all the high school students are in one spot, I guess it just makes it easier for them to see who gets murdered and when they'll get murdered. You know, shooting fish in a barrel, as they say.
But no, he's a cool cop because there's that kid drinking, and he's like, "Hey, you're too young for that," and takes it off him. Then he's like, "Nah, just kidding. Here you go. Have a drink. Get wasted." Gail and Dewey are at the house. Gail has a little hidden camera that she wants to put down to get video footage, I'm assuming, of Sydney talking about something to do with the case. Is that what you guys thought?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess she just was spying on Sydney.
Yeah.
Well,
so yeah, there is quite a lot happening in this final scene, so I may skip over a few things. So if you guys have
the final scene is like 42 minutes of the movie.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And there's so many little side stories of all the different characters. But pretty much the movie guy, the guy who loves movies, I cannot think of his name at the moment.
Randy.
Randy.
So yeah, he's going to put on a movie downstairs because he's got a big group around him. But
Tatum
during the
goes
party,
looking for beers.
yeah.
Tatum. Rose Mcgowan goes looking for beers because there's a huge party, but there's only one fridge with the beers in it.
Which is so far away from the party. Yeah, so Billy and Sydney go upstairs and they actually have sex because Sydney has overcome or she's relaxed or something. But then meanwhile, Tatum goes to go get the beers for everyone who's at the party, which is actually in the garage. So she goes down in there and then the room is locked once she's inside and she can't actually get out, and the killer ends up infiltrating the party and attempts to kill Tatum. So at first, again, she thinks it's someone playing a joke in the costume. She says this line, which is probably my favorite: "No, please, don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel."
Yeah.
And then that's when he cuts her on the arm with the knife. And then, she realizes that, this shit's real. And then, she's trying to escape. She can't open the door, but she sees a doggy door on the garage door. So she runs over to that and tries to squeeze her way through. In the meantime, the killer raises the garage door and I think squishes her head.
It's different.
It's I guess very interesting death.
I like this scene because I think it really highlights like that the killer is not like some supernatural like being, you know, Freddy Krueger or Jason-esque, like it, because when Tatum like squares up to him and is like laughing at him and making jokes, like he's kind of taken off guard by that, and he's kind of like, oh, she's not scared of me, okay. And then when Tatum realizes, and then this kind of, I think I said before, like Wes Craven really knows how to work in the teenagerness of things because they just make dumb decisions, and it's not because they're dumb, it's because they're literally teenagers. And so she just gets all irrational and tries to escape through a doggy door, and then that's what allows the killer to gain the advantage and the upper hand, not because he's like some, you know, mythical killer boy who's like invincible. Well, it's just like, oh, she fucked up, I can kill her. Sick.
Yeah, this is an easy way to kill her.
Well, she scones him a couple of times with a few full beers. Like, she pegs a full bottle of beer at him and smashes him in the groin.
Yeah.
And then I think she gets another one, scones him in the noggin. So you're like, oh yeah, this, to your point, Ciarin, like, oh, he can get hurt. You know, there's hope for these characters. But she just forgets she's a human.
Yeah.
Can't fit through the door.
She's a teenager with gigantic titties and she got stuck. Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, happens to the best of us, yep. We've all been there.
Upon like when I started watching this movie or rewatching this movie, I had totally forgotten Rose McGowan was in this movie. There's so much about this I'd forgotten because it had been probably 10 years since I last watched it.
I love Rose McGowan.
Yeah, damn.
She's cool as heck.
But yeah, so now Tatum has been killed, but then also at the same time we cut back to Randy and all the party people. And Randy gets a call, and he's told that the principal's dead, hanging from a football field, as he said to those two students. So pretty much all of the party goers leave, except for a few of our main characters, pretty much.
I don't care what's hanging up on the football field. Don't drink and drive. Sydney and Billy finish having sex. Cool. And he starts getting even more like red flaggy, and because you know they have sex, but then he's like, "What do you mean you don't think, like, what do I need to do to prove that I'm not a killer?" and really getting worked up about it, I wrote Sydney Dale. I don't think he's the one. I'm just going to throw that out there. Normally, if you're having conversations like this in a relationship, it's not going to last very long.
Why don't you believe me that I didn't kill this chick? Oh.
Yeah. What more do you want? She just had sex with you, Billy. Like, take it as a W, you know?
And then,
What
surprise,
happens?
the killer busts into the room and stabs Billy in the back. Yeah, so Sydney's quite mortified and climbs out the window onto the roof of the house. The killer tries to get her. She jumps down and lands in a boat.
Thank God they're all rich, hey? Like, what if there wasn't a boat for her to fall into? And another thing, what in a boat? Like, in a boat, what
soft.
would you fall on that wouldn't, like, break your neck or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, you land on one of those chairs, you like get bent like a pool noodle. Like your back is broken. But yeah, pretty much from there, then Sydney sees that Tatum's been killed. She comes around to the front of the house and she sees that Dewey has also been stabbed in the back. I haven't really talked about, but Dewey and Gail.
Romantic little walk.
Yeah, there's an abandoned car, and then they do that classic, oh, we kind of have a crush on each other, I'm going to fall and trip, and oh, we rolled down the hill together, whoa, we're crazy and in love.
But the car that they find is actually Sydney's dad's car. So then Dewey's like, oh my God, he's here, he's the killer, let's go back, and then they run back. But yeah. Dewey has been stabbed in the back and he collapses on the balcony.
Gail, like, crashes the car.
Yeah, so,
like,
yes.
into a tree.
Yeah, Sydney kind of runs out onto the road as Gail is driving the news van that she drives around in.
So, yeah, Randy's watching telly. And he's watching Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween. And it's funny enough, Jamie Kennedy is the name of the actor who plays Randy. And he's sitting there going, look behind you, Jamie! There's a killer, Jamie! Jamie! And then for some reason, which I don't get, Ghostface doesn't kill Kenny. He goes out and he finds the news van and he kills the cameraman.
Yeah.
I can answer that for you, Ciarin, because Jamie Kennedy throughout the movie, because he's all obsessed with the horror tropes. He's like, the virgins don't die.
Yeah.
And in the movie he gets picked on for being a virgin. And Ghostface has cut the throat of the camera guy, and Gail runs up to the camera van and he's on the roof. Like, she turns the wipers on to clear the windscreen.
Yeah, because she
blood.
She gets her little jacket and she's like, oh, there's something on the window screen, and then she's like, oh, it's on the outside, and then so she puts the wipes on. She's like, oh God, it's blood, and there's like, kaplunk! Here's the camera guy.
Here I am.
Yeah, and so then she tries to drive away. Sydney's on the road, swerves to miss her, crashes into a tree, and then everybody assumes that Gail's dead, so then they run back inside. And then,
Sydney kind of comes back to the house and is standing in the doorway, and then Randy and Stu come up behind her, and they both kind of claim that the other one is the killer, and they're pointing at each other, and they're trying to say, no, I'm not the killer, he's the killer. And Sydney has Dewey's gun. And so she's just kind of pointing it at both of them, but she's not exactly sure who is and who's telling the truth. Stu is wanting to come back inside and obtain the gun from her, while Randy's just wanting to leave. So there's a little bit of an indication. But eventually, Billy stumbles down the stairs, completely covered in blood from his wound. Sydney closes the door, and her and Billy have a bit of a reunite. And then he's like, oh, it's okay, give me the gun. And so she gives him the gun, and he opens up the door, and he shoots Randy.
Kind of gets his blood and he licks it, and he's like, oh, it's corn syrup. I wrote down corn syrup. Did they practice that stabbing in their free time to pull off their magic trick? Like, where they're like, okay, so I'm gonna stab you, and then you put the blood. Go, do it. Okay, that one wasn't realistic. Let's try it one more time from the top. And I stab you. Like, I just have so many questions about how all this played out.
So pretty much the jig is up. The audience kind of has figured out what's going on, is that Stu and Billy are both the killers.
Great little twist.
Yeah, great little twist.
I didn't see it coming when I watched it the first time. I didn't see it coming. Like, it
No.
got me.
And you definitely don't think two people as well. Like, there's a bit in one of the chase scenes that you're like, oh, how did he get there so quick?
Yeah.
Like, how did the Ghostface get there so quick after, I locked him out of the other side, or I hit him, and then he's just instantly in front of her again. Yeah, but you don't think there's two of them, and you don't really think it's either of those two.
And you can tell that, like, Billy was inviting Stu over to practice all this after school, because they go into this massive monologue about, like, why they did it and everything. Billy technically blames it on his mother's abandonment caused by Sydney's mother's affair with his father. And Stu, he just says, well, there's just peer pressure. I'm far too sensitive, you know? I just had to do it.
Sydney's wondering why it's all happened, but they've also gone and kidnapped Sydney's father.
Yes.
So he's tied up on the ground, and they're like, okay, Sydney, you're going to die. We're going to plant evidence on your father, going to kill him, and then they're going to stab...
Murder suicide.
Yeah, well, I took it as the two boys trying to frame the father rather than the murder-suicide.
Yeah, well, I think, it's still a murder-suicide. He just murdered heaps of people before killing Sydney.
Oh,
and then
right, yes.
himself. And yeah, the boys, to make it look like it, they stab each other. But then I was like, but shouldn't they have done that after they killed Sydney and her dad, not before? Like...
Yes, which is a little bit of a hiccup in their plan.
It's a pretty chilling scene because obviously they're just fucking insane, and because they're talking about, oh, what's our motive? You know, why does Norman Bates need a motive? Why does Hannibal Lecter need a motive? And they're kind of saying, all right, here's a motive. Your mother fucked my father, and setting off the rails. And then when they start just taking turns at stabbing each other, oh, I could not bear it.
Yeah,
it's
chilling. Absolutely.
They're just remorseless, and they're just insane.
They're childish and immature, like, as teenage boys, like, and they, you know, they taunt their victims, you know, and it's why they're clumsy, and they seem like comedically dumb and over eager, and it kind of makes sense now finding out, like, who the killers are. They're two teenage boys on a murder spree, clearly on an adrenaline rush, like, just fucking stabbing people.
And when... they're distracted from all the stabbing and Sydney escapes, and she starts calling up on the phone and taunting. I might also throw in a bit of early additional trivia.
Sign me up.
What's the Billy, Sydney's boyfriend? He's on the phone. He's starting to lose his mind because Sydney's taken off. She's hiding somewhere in the house, taunting them. Stu's complaining. He's like, you stabbed me too much, I'm going to die. And Billy gets really frustrated, and he throws the phone, and he hits... Stu in the back, and he's like, you hit me with a phone, you dick. Funny as shit, but that was all improvised.
That's so good.
Yeah, so Billy in the scene, he's like, I tried to throw the phone because he was covered in fake blood. His hands are really sticky. And his aim was off, so he accidentally hit Matthew Lillard in the back of the head, and then straight away Lillard was like, oh, you dickhead, you hit me with a phone. So that wasn't in the script at all.
That's
such a funny line. Because, like, you can tell they're both bleeding out. Because, like, before that, Matthew Lillard's like, I'm feeling a little woozy here. He's, like, struggling around the room. And then, he gets hit in the head with the phone. And he's like, you hit me with the phone, you dick.
Yeah, and so Sydney like scrambles away, and in the meantime, Gail Weathers makes a triumphant return. She now has the gun. She's like, stick 'em up, you boys. Reach
There's a new sheriff in town.
And it's me, Gail Weathers.
But yes, she actually forgets to turn off the gun's safety, which Billy knows, and then there's a bit of a struggle and a bit of a fight. Sydney strikes back at the two guys, Billy and Stu, and ends up killing Stu with a television, but pulling a television onto his head.
She stabs him with an
he stabs
umbrella,
Billy.
right?
Yeah, he stabs Billy with an umbrella to get out of the closet, and then she has a bit of a fight with Stu, and then pulls a TV onto his head.
I was just wondering, why did she put the costume on?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's for the line.
Oh.
Because she says, not in my movie, because he's talking about, I think, is that when she says it? I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, it's all like a movie. Because she says earlier, like, oh, why can't I be like a Meg Ryan movie? Yeah, because, everything's being related back to movies in this movie. And she says, I think I wrote down, she said, why can't I be like a Meg Ryan movie? And I said, do you mean like you want to be like Meg Ryan in a movie, or do you want to be like an actual Meg Ryan movie?
I should point out as well to our listener, or maybe listeners with a plural, part of the reason is I know that we're going, oh, did this happen, there's so many fucking plot twists in particularly this third act. It can get hard to stay on track, because like, I know we're talking about, oh, this happened, or this happened, or this happened before. There's so much shit's getting revealed all at once and just thrown at you in a big bloody handful.
Yeah.
As Ciarin said, the last act goes for at least 40 minutes, and there is so many stories happening at the same time, with each character doing their own thing, and all these twists and turns, as Dane said. It's very hard to keep track of and put in a chronological order as well.
Yeah.
So I do apologise if we have made anyone confused from that, but it's...
So everyone's dead. All the high schools died in a drunk driving accident on their way to see the principal.
Every single kid at that high school is dead.
And then everyone's been stabbed or shot at some point.
Wait, does that happen? Or are you just being silly?
I'm just being facetious.
I'm like, did I miss something?
But Gail ends up shooting Billy at the end as well. So Gail ends up with the gun, she turns the safety off, and she shoots Billy dead. So Billy and Stu have both been killed now. Yeah.
Dead boys.
2 dead boys. And then pretty much after that, I love it. It's such a funny scene too. So literally after this has all happened, the police turn up and they're investigating the scene. But Gail is there with a new cameraman and is about to film a real life expose on the killings from her first-hand experience of almost being killed 5 minutes ago. She's dedicated to her job. She's
News never sleeps.
And that's Scream.
I think that's pretty much Scream. Yeah. Yeah, it's so much fun. Such a good movie.
Really, really good. Yeah, that for the first opening 10 minutes, and then that scene where they're just taking turns at stabbing each other in the kitchen. Oh, it sets my teeth on edge. Just how they're just so fucking far gone. They're completely calm with stabbing one another. I loved it. I love this movie from start to finish.
Wes Craven never disappoints with these little slashy movies.
Yeah. Matthew Lillard, especially in that end scene, he kills it. He's so good in that end scene. And he's got so many funny lines. Like when he's
so
dying
underrated.
on the ground, Sydney escapes. He's like, my mum and dad are going to be so mad at me.
So happens when you give in to peer pressure. I guess that's the real story of the movie, boys and girls.
Yeah, when Sydney calls him and she's taunting him while Billy's running around looking for her. And she's like, what are you going to tell the cops? He's like, oh, it's peer pressure and I'm weak. And oh.
Oh, God. I suppose I should ask you both. Would you recommend Scream?
I
Absolutely.
would. Yes.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. Everyone has to see this movie. Yeah. It's a blast. It's so much fun.
If I had more thumbs, I'd give it more than 2 thumbs up. But alas, I only have the 2.
Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness.
Do you want to do, if you liked X, X?
Yeah.
What have you got, Ryan? You've always got good ones.
I've got a good one. I think it's a very similar vein, and I didn't realise until afterwards when I looked it up, is if you like I Know What You Did Last Summer, you will like Scream.
Yeah!
But written by the same guy. Found out after. And
really?
I was like, oh shit, yeah. So, but yeah, if you like it, because that's pretty much a very similar example of this. Doesn't have any of the referential or self-awareness that Scream does. But it's kind of a whodunit with teenagers killing each other.
Yeah.
It's good fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good recommendation.
What about you, CC and Danio?
Well, I've got a couple. So, coming from the Wes Craven vein, if you like Nightmare on Elm Street, you would like this. Teenagers getting moited. Yep. Obviously, it's a bit different. I also had if you like funny games, which is not really so much in the whodunit vein, but it's a slasher. So, and it's intense, which is there's a lot of intense moments in Scream. So if you don't want the ha-has or the, ridiculous 80s, 90s vibe, but you want some of the slashies, funny games, the European one, not the remake.
We've already mentioned a couple of them. Yeah, obviously, I Know What You Did Last Summer. That's a good old time. I had Chucky down.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a pretty darkly comical as well in some parts, as well as terrifying. I know that's where I got my fear of old China dolls. Cabin in the Woods, because that's fantastic, and it's also a very meta movie. But
yeah, definitely. All right, hit me with some trivia, Dane boy.
Oh my goodness, have I got some trivia for you? Well, actually, the trivia that the biggest trivia that we discovered, it's just come out because it is the 25th anniversary of Scream. The next Scream movie comes out next year. But it was just revealed a couple of days ago when they were shooting this, they were showing the dailies, like the daily footage from the original Scream movie to the execs, and they hated that original opening 10-minute scene, like how it starts with Drew Barrymore. They wanted it gone, they didn't see the appeal of it, they didn't like anything about it. But yeah, they wanted to get rid of that opening 10 minutes, and it's just such an iconic scene.
I wanted to add to that, when Bob Weinstein watched the first parts of the first scenes filmed, the rough cuts and stuff, he hated the Ghostface mask. He said it was idiotic. So he asked the producers to film one scene with 7 different masks and then let him choose the one he liked most. They're like, fuck no, that's so stupid. And they said, wait until the first sequence was completed and was out of the rough cut stage, and then he could decide if he really hated it. And then after watching that opening scene and after a lot of conjecture, he was like, yep, okay, that mask is fine. I'm not going to complain about it anymore.
And thank God, because it's up there with obviously the Jason mask and the Michael Myers mask and everything. You see so many of them for Halloween. I've still got quite a bit more trivia. I don't want to hold up everyone's trivia time. Shall I go on with my next point?
Dane, you can have my trivia time, because I don't have any.
Okay, good. Well, the voice of the Ghostface Killer over the phone, his name is Roger Jackson, and he does a lot of voice work for animated shows and video games as well. I guess most recently he did some work for the Mass Effect trilogy, Horizon Zero Dawn. He plays a couple of NPCs in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Hell yeah.
Damn.
Heaps of games. But he also plays a character in the Call of Duty series, and he's called Ghostface in it.
Hey!
Stop it. That's a bit of fun.
Did you know Wes Craven didn't let him meet any of the cast, so because he wanted their reactions to be genuine when they spoke to them on the phone, so a lot of the time when they're talking to them and they first hear it, they actually didn't know who they were going to be talking to or what was going to happen, and they were actually talking to him, and they were genuinely shocked by the voice that was coming out of the other end of the phone.
Oh, love that.
You're right. And my final bit of fascinating little trivia. Originally, Alicia Silverstone from Clueless, probably most well known from Clueless, she was meant to play the role of Drew Barrymore.
Ah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting. Yeah. I'm glad it was Drew Barrymore, though.
Me too. Well, Barrymore was apparently just hooked from that scene she's in. She's like, no, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, could have been completely different.
Yeah.
Most of my trivia, I just wanted to point out some of the little bits. Well, the first thing I had was Kevin Williamson, the guy who wrote the screenplay. So he wrote it as a response, to get out his fears of being attacked by an intruder.
Really?
So he watched a series of the Gainesville Ripper, who murdered several college students in the 90s, and so that's what inspired the film. And then they brought in, the juggernaut Wes Craven to make the fun movie, and now it's like a little love letter to horror movies. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty nifty.
Oh my goodness.
At the beginning, so this is kind of all the pop culture references, I guess I wanted to point out. At the beginning of the movie, when Casey's parents come home, and find out something is wrong, her father tells her mother to go to the Mackenzies, and that's what Laurie, or Jamie Lee Curtis, told the kids to do in Halloween.
Oh, that's sick.
She's like, go to the Mackenzies, go to the Mackenzies. So then they go to the Mackenzies. So yeah, so that was like a little like, hello, we watch horror movies.
I love that.
And you know how I had a lot to say about the Fonz and how they were spending too much time on whether or not he was the killer. But when Henry Winkler opens the closet, like when he's, you know, in his office, his black leather Fonzie jacket from Happy Days is hanging in it, and I thought that was
oh, that's awesome.
That's
a bit cheeky. Yeah.
What a cheeky little movie this is.
Yeah. During production, the signature black robe was actually going to be white to make him appear even more like a ghost, but then they kind of thought, oh, this looks a bit Ku Klux Klan-y, so that's why we have black. That's why Ghostface is all black, not white. A
good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, good call. And then the party scene, which is the final scene that we talked about. That's like the longest final scene ever. The party scene it's 42 minutes long, so it takes a huge chunk of the film's runtime. It was shot over the course of 21 days, from the time the sun set to the time it rose. So they used dusk till dawn. They shot. After it wrapped, the crew had T-shirts made that read, "I survived scene 118." So that was the name of that. That whole scene was called scene 118. And the cast and crew jokingly called it the longest night in horror history because it took 21 days to film one night's worth of party.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's awesome. My little bits of trivia for you boys.
I actually have one little bit of trivia that I just remembered. Have you
Ryan, you sneaky dog. You told me you didn't have any.
I know, I'm sorry. Have you guys heard of the movie The Faculty?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Well, okay, so it's a movie from 1998. It's an American science fiction horror film. It is directed by Robert Rodriguez, and it is written by Kevin Williamson. So it's the same writer as Scream. And the most interesting thing about it is it was meant to be Miramax's version of Scream.
Oh.
So nobody wanted this script. Nobody touched the script until Scream came out, and it made, I don't know how much it made, but it made a lot of money.
It made $173 million.
Whoa.
Damn. Yeah,
and it had a budget of 15.
Damn.
Whoa.
And back in the 90s, that's like $1 trillion now, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much after Scream came out and made 170 whatever million dollars, yeah, this movie was rushed to production, had a very similar cast to it, but yeah, it was kind of a bomb. And but it has pretty much the same cult following now that Scream has now as well. People just absolutely love it, and just thought that was a little bit interesting. I just remembered that after looking up the writer's name.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you guys have some reviews you want to share?
Shall I jump in here?
Do it.
Yeah.
I've only found the one because there was so many good reviews out. I didn't think it was worthwhile looking for a bad one. If you're looking for a smart, self-aware horror film, then look no further than Scream. The film came out at a time when the horror genre was dying, and it was a breath of fresh air, delivering a unique, inventive cinematic experience, and is one of the most influential horror movies ever. 4 out of 5 stars.
Ooh.
Damn.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love
Pretty
that.
glowing review.
I've got a 1 star because I just thought it would be funny to include one.
No.
Oh, wow.
First, it's not scary. And second, after seeing it, you may scream at yourself for wasting your time and money. 1 star.
Oh, what a dickhead.
fuck that guy.
And then my 5-star review, I included this one because of the end of this one. So Scream was one of the best horror films of the 90s. Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson have created a great chilling film with many pop culture references and one-liners. Neve Campbell played a great scream queen, and Matthew Lillard is hilarious as Stu. 5 stars.
I have one really good one. It is a 4-star, and it says, "I can't believe it was Shaggy behind the mask all along. The rest of the Mystery Incorporated team must be so disappointed."
I love it.
Yeah.
if Scream were like the Scream 1 was made now, you just know that there'd be a Scooby-Doo reveal joke in there somewhere.
Oh, that would be
yeah.
This.
Matthew Lillard?
Oh my God. Who's behind the mask?
Well, I suppose I should ask, we've been watching anything. Did we watch anything new or anything spooky over the weekend, apart from this?
Pretty much nothing, so I hope one of you guys got something fun to say.
I watched that movie that we were chatting about last week when I was like, good night, boys, thanks for the podcast. I watched Unsane, and fuck me, it was really cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah?
I definitely, think that everybody should have a look at it. It's different. It kind of reminds me of It Follows because it's very minimal, sound design.
Yep.
All shot on an iPhone 12, mind you. You hear about people who are sane being locked up in a mental asylum, and this is a really raw and very stressful, it's just a stressful movie, and I definitely recommend everybody check it out.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Alright. Well, over Halloween, aside from getting ready to watch this, I watched a bit of Ghostbusters.
Hey.
Obviously,
and
the all-women's cast one.
of course. No, the original Ghostbusters. And then I showed my partner The Witch, Robert Eggers' The Witch.
So
which
good.
Did
she love it?
It's one of my favourite horrors. Yeah, she was had a good old time with it. I hadn't watched it for a little while, so it was like watching it again for the first time.
Oh.
He's got another movie coming out soon, I think. The Northman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't wait. I'll be first in line. I love Robert Eggers. What an original.
Oh, I also watched Snowpiercer for the first time, and I don't know why I waited so long to watch it.
It's great.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's a great movie.
Damn good movie.
It's a fucking banger.
Yeah.
It's a banger of a movie. 110% good movie.
Are you going to watch the series of it?
Don't know yet. Don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want Bong Joon-ho's greatness to be tainted by whatever else comes out of that. So
Yeah.
I might wait a bit.
Valid.
Awesome.
Well,
wait. So whose pick is it next?
Ciarin.
It's
Ciarin's.
mine.
Oh my goodness! And what's on the menu? What are we watching?
Well, boys, I hope you're hungry because we're watching Inception.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, goodness gracious!
Chrissy Nolan. Thank God we're not watching
Nolan.
Tenet. Good Lord.
I haven't even watched Tenet. As soon as I heard your review of it, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna watch it. I'm good.
Yeah.
But yeah,
no, Inception's a
we're gonna watch
blast. Hell
some.
yeah.
We're gonna watch some Leonardo DiCaprio. Great time. Tom Hardy. Banger of a film.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Solid pick.
Well, I guess I just thought, why kill the momentum with another shit movie? Let's make a good one.
I promise when it's my turn, I will also pick a great one. One that we all love.
Excellent. I make no promises though. All right. I think that
Wonderful.
just about does it. Hey.
Yeah.
Does.
Ryan, do you want to read
thanks for the recommend.
Yeah.
No
Thanks
worries.
for the recommend. You want to read your little wrap up?
Whoa, my spiel. Thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of Ticket Stubs. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Ticket Stubs to stay up to date with everything that we're up to, and let us know what you want us to chat about next. You can also check out our blog and a bunch of videos and extras on our website at www.ticketstubs.com. But that's it from us. We'll catch you next time when we watch, dissect, and discuss Inception.
I'll see you next week, pals.
See you next
Looking
week.
forward to it. Bye, guys.